Okay. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining our last stream webinar of 2013. The topic of today's webinar is going to be digital trends in 2014, which is something of a stream tradition and something that we're always really excited about and look forward to doing. So I hope you enjoy it as much as we do and take away something valuable from our trend predictions. Before we get started, I'm going to run through some quick items to keep in mind as we settle in for some digital marketing fun. Please be aware that this webinar is a web-based platform, which means there is a chance that the presentation could freeze or crash. If this happens, please accept my sincere apologies in advance and heartfelt promises that you will receive an email with the webinar or a rescheduled date. We do have every registered guest's email, so on the off chance that something does happen, we will be sure to reach out immediately. Okay. But let's stay positive and start with some introductions. So my name is Kelly Ayers. I am an SEO manager here at Stream Companies. And as always with our webinars, feel free to reach out via email, Facebook, or Twitter at any time after the webinar by visiting facebook.com/streamco, twitter.com/streamcompanies, or our website, streamcompanies.com. In addition, if you have any questions following the webinar, you can direct them to my personal Twitter, KLA, or at the Stream Companies Twitter account. If you want to join in and let everyone know that you're here having a great time with us, you can hashtag Streaminar. And also, if you would like to direct any questions towards there, or again, my personal Twitter account, we won't be having a Q&A just because there's a lot of ground to cover in this last seminar. So I'm open to any and all questions via email or Twitter if you'd like to shoot me something after the webinar. So let's jump in because, like I said, we have a lot of material to cover and I don't want anyone to miss out on anything. So we'll start by taking a look back at this past year in digital marketing trends and call out some of the major players in the digital world. In terms of major Google changes in 2013, the digital marketing world is trying to make sense of the Hummingbird search algorithm and what it means for 2014. A search algorithm is a technical term for anyone who's not familiar for what Google uses to sort through the billions of web pages and other information that it has in order to return what it believes are the best answers. The Hummingbird update focused on refining what they call conversational search. It should better focus on the meaning behind the words itself. In particular, Google said that Hummingbird is paying more attention to each word in a query, ensuring that the whole sentence or the conversation is taken into account, rather than particular keywords like we were seeing before. The goal is that pages matching the meaning do better rather than pages matching just a few keywords. And we're going to take a look at how this algorithm update affects the state of search in 2014 as well and how we can adapt to it. Another thing is the rise of mobile that contributed to each segment of digital marketing as the development of mobile sites fall behind the industry standards themselves. With definitive proof from Google about mobile ranking factors that may hurt your site and the steady increase of mobile as the medium for search, shopping, and social, you should expect to see a stronger focus in 2014 now that the frenzied mobile dust of the year has settled. Finally, but not inclusively, it would not be a review of 2013 without remembering that content rules all. It's all we've heard for a long time now, and it continues to be the standard. So at least with everything within digital marketing. More and more sites are being penalized for spammy or irrelevant content as Hummingbird made search more sophisticated. Dynamic advertising relies on targeted content crawls to effectively increase quality conversions. Social content itself has become less reliant on text and has shifted more towards image and video content. And don't worry, content emphasis isn't going anywhere in 2014, but the circle of what is considered relevant and important is sure to widen. Although there's a lot to discuss and speculate for digital marketing in 2014, we would be here all day if I tried to cover it all. So we're going to narrow it down to 4 main components: search engine optimization, pay-per-click or search engine marketing, social media, and mobile. I'm going to be going through each of these in turn to bring up the main changes and trends that we expect to see, how you can approach them as a business owner or a marketer, and what they mean for digital marketing as a whole. So to begin, we're going to start with SEO. Search engine optimization is a digital marketing practice that's always in flux, so the industry predictions each year are always interesting to read. The data we've collected here at Stream in regards to SEO, as well as research that we've done in the changing face of organic search, leads us to believe that the following factors are the most important when speaking out about the future of SEO in 2014. This past year, SEO as a whole was probably most affected by the Hummingbird update that we mentioned earlier. It was rolled out in the second half of 2014, and it will continue to have an impact on search next year and the following years until they make more changes to their algorithms. While it affected 90% of search results when it was rolled out, the implementation of the algorithm change was a quiet one. One reason SEOs may not have noticed at all is because the biggest changes happened to long-tail queries. Long-tail keyword searches make up the majority of queries, but each is such low search volume that it's hard to notice when something changes. This combined with Google's not provided data may have contributed to the oversight. So though we've known from an SEO perspective that content is extremely important for an extremely long time, the way search is adapting should change our strategy for content creation and sharing. This agrees with what Google says about its new focus on matching the meanings of phrases with relevant content, rather than just matching individual keywords in a query to a certain page. And now that we know what 2013 has left us with in the SEO world, we can start planning for next year. We've identified the 4 core facets of SEO to focus on in the coming year, and we're going to identify how each one will see an increase in importance or relevance to search engine optimization. This past year, we've seen the beginning of a beautiful friendship between social and SEO. No longer are they two separate practices. The correlation of social signals to search engine results pages has grown more and more likely. In 2014, we'll most likely be able to see exactly how likes from Facebook, +1s from Google+, and retweets from Twitter can influence rankings. Particularly Google+ and +1s are what you want to focus on when you move forward into 2014. Not just because Google might give preference to its own products, but because of its parallel focus on content. We've seen the content trend in SEO rise over the past few years once Google laid down the law on spammy and duplicate content. For a network that's almost purely content-driven, it's no surprise that Google+ can begin to contribute to ranking factors over the next year. So what value does Google verbally place on social signals to the public? Recently, Google announced that social signals such as Facebook likes, Twitter retweets, and +1s don't do anything for you in the short term. In other words, just getting retweets and Facebook likes won't immediately affect your ability to rank. But in the long haul, a long history of accumulating positive social signals can show a search engine that you can be trusted by your followers, and eventually contribute to your site getting pushed up in search once it makes the distinction between your Google+ page and your website. So along with authoritative content, having a strong network of fans and followers who like and promote you constantly and your content is important, but as a long-term play, not a short-term ranking scheme. If we determine that Google+ isn't directly impacting search with its social signals, why is it important for SEO in 2014? Because shared articles on Google+ have their own canonical URL that likely passes on link authority to the referred article. Google+ is quickly becoming the fastest way to attract natural links. We see this a lot with content sharing, that people are sharing it on purpose and not because they're being promoted or they're being helpful in terms of a marketing standpoint, but they're doing it because it's something that they like to see and they want to show to other people. Since its core purpose is content sharing, it allows for relevant, interesting articles to get shared and indexed quickly. And although it's not something new for 2014, the rise in implementation of authorship will be significant given its contribution to content authority. Tying your Google+ profile to your unique content creates a digital link between the content you create on your site and the content you share on Google+. Within search results, the information tied to verified online profiles will be ranked higher than the content without such verification, and that will result in most users naturally clicking on the top verified results. If authorship is tied to a post that you create and it is the top result for someone searching for that content, you're most likely to be trusted by the user because you have a name and a face associated with that piece of content. Not adopting authorship might lead to irrelevance in this case when it comes to being an authority in your content field. Even the most fascinating content, if it's tied to an anonymous profile that's not verified, won't be seen because of its low ranking. Google has confirmed that there's a hidden benefit to having authorship status. If a user returns to the search engine results pages after reading an author tagged result for a certain period of time, Google will add 3 additional links to similar articles from the same author below the original link. For example, image 1 on the screen shows you an excerpt from Matt McGee from Marketing Land, who is given the additional content push from user behavior. A Google search for Marketing Land feed burner shows his recent marketingland.com articles in the top spot, including his authorship status, his name, and his photo. If I click on that search result and read the article and then use my browser's back button after a certain amount of time has elapsed, Google will add new content by Matt McGee along with that article to show me similar articles that he's written that I might be interested in. You can see how that would appear in image number 2. But there are caveats to this benefit. If you use the back button too quickly, you won't see the extra links. Google is measuring time on site to decide if it thinks you enjoyed the article, if you read through it, or if you decided that it wasn't what you were looking for and decided to go back to your search. So how much time has to pass? Google has yet to tell us, but based on testing that's been done so far, the magic number seems to be about 2 minutes, which is what is pretty relevant for somebody on a shorter article site to read through, maybe decide to move on to a different article. The Google Hummingbird update intends to adapt conversational search into relevant search results. So instead of targeting specific keywords, it'll focus on the meaning behind the words like we were saying earlier. This will allow the search engine results pages to display sites with unique content that's crafted to answer a question as opposed to targeting the specific keywords within a question. So how does this affect your content strategy in 2014? Instead of focusing solely on targeting certain keywords to certain pages, as was the practice before, and incorporating it into the on-page content, metadata, and anchor text, your content should be geared toward unique and user-focused content. By that I mean your content should answer a question instead of promoting a keyword or keyword phrase. The focus should be on quality. Keyword-heavy articles will become less and less relevant if they don't provide the information that answers the conversational queries. In the next year, there'll be a deeper understanding of how this works. We're still getting preliminary reports on Hummingbird and how it's pushing content down for not answering specific questions. And Google itself is still trying to figure out the algorithm to how they can best answer a user's question. But establishing yourself as an authority in the industry can establish trust when it comes to product purchasing. So being able to establish yourself as an authority within a certain sphere, whether it be the auto industry or the retail industry, can help Google realize that you are related to that business and you are the best source of information for somebody searching within that industry. In 2014, content marketing should move from a buzzword to a standard practice. In order to do so, we have some suggestions to help you refine your content strategy in the new year. First, you would want to hire qualified, capable people for both writing and SEO. Just because someone is great at SEO doesn't mean they could write copy that's clear and compelling, and most writers aren't trained to do SEO. But you do want somebody who would be able to understand both sides of the coin that can work together. Second, you will want to start measuring which pages of your websites are generating the most value for you and what types of content are generating the greatest ROI. This way, once you start creating specific content to your users and realizing how that content is converting, you can tailor that content to niche audiences and figure out the best way to get a return investment on creating great, unique content. If you have content that ranks well but isn't driving traffic or conversions on your site, it's not doing a good job for you or your users. That means your users are not having the experience that they want when they type in a search query. They're not getting the information that they're asking for, and they're not converting. So in order to realize which pages are performing well, you have to also look at the ones that are performing badly and figure out how to better answer the questions of the users on that page. Once you have a picture of page performance on your site overall, you can begin to make decisions about where you want to focus your time and resources when it comes to your website's content. Third, most importantly, as we've heard from Hummingbird, is thinking about topics rather than keywords when you consider how to create your content. What questions does the page answer? Are there synonyms for that topic that can be used on that page? Those are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself before you come up with a content strategy to make sure that you are targeting any and all questions that your users might have and becoming the true source of information for them. And finally, seek out high-quality partners for after this content is created so that you can make sure that you're pushing that content on social to the right people and hopefully building some link building opportunities. But you also want to make sure that the link, should you receive one, is placed in a context that's congruent with the topic. For example, if you are an auto dealer who wanted to build out content on concept cars for 2015, you wouldn't want to send that post to a baking blog. So just make sure that once that content is created, it's reaching the right audience when you are doing your link building. An important part of the 2014 aftermath of Hummingbird is the ability to create content that provides answers. So focus each piece of content on a specific concept that answers the questions of your existing and desired users. So you want to capture the people that are returning to your site as well as the new people and answer both of their questions with your content strategies. As search engines move away from words and phrases to concepts, revisiting the same topic again and again using different keywords becomes less effective and user experience will drop off. A second rising facet of content strategy in 2014 is the use of visual content. We've seen the rise of infographics for link building in the past, but the next year expect to see image-heavy SERP testing. This is particularly impactful for product-based sites who rely on dynamic and eye-catching images for their product pages. It's also important as the number of visual learners at 65% in 2013 continues to rise. One thing to take note of in 2014 is the way images will be given precedence in the search engine results. The promotion of user-generated photos may begin to outweigh the optimized promotional photos by businesses as we see the popularity of social image platforms rising. This could contribute to connecting the dots between social signals and search engine results, starting with Google+ shares and +ones and possibly moving on to Pinterest and Instagram. The idea behind the rise in user-generated image popularity is the same theory applied to the increase in video importance, catering to the user and not to the search engine. We all know that the attention span of the younger and younger generations are continuing to dwindle. They want something fast, they want something short, and they want to get their information from that, especially when we're talking about users who are online shopping. As of now, SEO has the advantage with the ability to optimize photos for Google search, which is why brand photos are still popping up related to certain keywords. But once Google is able to crawl user-created images for relevance, this trend may become more and more prevalent. It's doubly impacted by the rise in image-based social platforms. In early December, Google appeared to be testing this theory by embedding images in the search engine results pages. As you can see here for the 2014 Nissan Altima. So far, this appears to still be in the testing stages, which makes it hard to tell how widespread it will be in the future. But as we know from Google authorship testing, snippets containing images like the ones for the Nissan, like the ones for the Flower Beauty Facebook search, get a higher click-through rate in general. People are attracted to the image search. People are attracted to seeing what they're looking for and clicking on it knowing that it'll take them where they want to go. having images embedded in rich snippets of pages that don't have authorship markup yet would be a great way to drive traffic without expending any extra effort. Not to mention having more images in search results is an effective way to improve user experience for everyone, not just SEOs and website owners. So we've heard a lot about the rise of local search as well in 2013. Some claims are true, some data is false. But going into 2014, we know a lot more, and we can rely on the fact that local isn't going anywhere, as evidenced by the amount of real estate in the search engine results pages that local sites have begun to take over. What we do know for 2014 is the correlation between rankings and reviews. With all the review sites out there now, it's hard to sift through and focus on the ones that you should really count on. But the tried and true method that we've learned in 2013 and will serve us well going into the future is always opt for a Google product. Google Local has been dominating local search queries, and it can only help you if your reviews are aggregated or written directly on Google+. Having consistent local listings is important as well, with consistent meaning matching name, address, and phone number across multiple business listings. It's a start to boost your local presence in 2014 if you don't have that many reviews yet. But the next step would be to start enticing your customers, obviously only the happy ones, for reviews to build up your trust and ultimately build up your brand. So moving on to paid search advertising, an equally important part of the digital recipe and a segment that's seeing great changes in 2014. Typically, changes to the pay-per-click model are not as instant as Google changing a search algorithm like we'd see in SEO. New methods and medium within PPC must be tested and retested to acquire the data to determine a positive or negative impact. But even as things are being tested, new facets are being introduced, and it's important to understand where Google is going before it's too late. So in 2013, we saw retargeting campaigns were introduced as a highly effective way of closing the sales funnel through repetition. In 2014, the focus on retargeting is much stronger, as are the ways in which Google and social have improved its use. So we'll get into that a little bit going into 2014 and how you can utilize retargeting and what it exactly means. Not unlike the rise in image search that we saw in SEO, sponsored product listing ads were introduced into the search results pages to appeal to dynamic shopping. In 2014, expect this trend to continue and include video into the online shopping experience. Like 2013, we'll see an increase in sophisticated advertising and insightful reporting for PPC. We'll go over the core 4 facets of PPC like we did SEO to focus on in the coming year, and we'll identify how each one will see an increase in importance or relevance. The first thing I want to talk about is the introduction into full conversion value from Google. As we discussed before, and as the entire digital marketing industry is seeing, mobile use is quickly taking over, especially in the terms of retail and e-commerce. People are browsing and shopping across several different mediums. And since the rise of mobile traffic, Google has attempted to provide more insight into their conversion value. The estimated total conversions within AdWords provides a deeper look into ROI for paid search. A recent holiday study showed that 84% of consumers who are likely to use a mobile or tablet device while shopping will start shopping on one device and then finish on the other. If a user is signed into their Google account on their phone, tablet, and PC, the AdWords platform can track across all 3 devices. That means if someone visits the site on their iPhone while they're at the mall and then later revisits the same site on their PC and completes a conversion, whether it be a form conversion or an actual purchase, this can track into Google AdWords estimated total conversions. The importance of this metric next year will be a complete understanding of ROI for paid search and a broader understanding of mobile users, which can direct your paid search efforts depending on the results. So if you see a large number of cross-device conversions, you can start targeting more towards mobile to track those people that are switching devices while shopping. Knowing how users navigate search ads and sites across all devices can only contribute to a more refined paid search campaign. So the more data we get about estimated total conversions, the more we'll be able to refine our paid search campaigns and target the exact audience that we want. Another change in 2014 will be the expansion of cross-device tracking. So according to Google, cross-device conversions as a part of estimated total conversions are tracked only for AdWords ads traffic on Google at this time. They're not currently tracking cross-device or cross-browser conversions for AdSense, AdSense for content, display, or any other Google properties. In order to fill out cross-device conversion tracking, Google is working on solutions to address these properties. The introduction of Hummingbird, as we said before, could be seen as a blessing or a curse. On one hand, the user gets a better experience. More complex search terms can be answered with more precise results. But on the other hand, the execution hasn't quite caught up with the theory, which means millions of searches a day have Google struggling for results. On a daily basis, 15% of queries submitted have never been seen before by Google's search engine. This doesn't help in terms of Hummingbird because they don't have the precedent to answer these questions. So they are working on building up new information from the ground up for this algorithm change. But the answer to this 15% of queries that Google has never seen comes in the form of dynamic search. In order to generate dynamic ads, Google scrapes your site's content and associates that content to a relevant search query. An ad headline is generated based on the query that matches your page, and then the text of the ad is static and should be something that can be applied to all products within a given ad group. So where are these most helpful? Sites with pages and pages of different products. So very large e-commerce sites that have many products that might not be distinguishable at first glance, but can be distinguished between unique product descriptions and relevant search queries for people who know exactly what they're looking for. But chances are you don't have the budget to target each and every product with a separate AdWords ad. That's where dynamic ads come in. You can target ads to specific product pages by creating unique product descriptions. So what's the difference that we can look for in 2014? In the past, we've used third-party software to generate dynamic ads for product feeds. But this year, Google pushed their own version to capitalize on this growing sector of paid search. So despite the slow rate of integration, this is expected to become more and more common for advertisers. The difference between Google's dynamic ad creation between 2013 and 2014, and other third parties for that matter, relies on the ability to refine the system. I'll give a little bit of instruction on setting up dynamic ads before showing how this can change and improve next year. As with anything search engine related, the fallback of dynamic ads is testing. So Google has not yet worked out the kinks on proper website scraping to proper ad placement. Because of this, negative keywords are extremely important for dynamic ad testing, but it takes time to see which queries drive impressions, even before getting into which queries and relevant dynamic ads drive ROI. So we have to start from the bottom level and work our way up through testing in order to make dynamic ads as effective as they could be. The change we expect from dynamic search in 2014 includes an increase in advertisers using this practice as a whole, whether it be a third-party software or whether it be using Google's own tool. It should also, the influx of people using this tool should also incite the improvement in functionality across Google's own product. Once they see people starting to use it, they'll be able to do their own tests and refine their own model, and hopefully anyone else using third-party software can follow suit. In order to corner the PPC market, Google will have to allow for more specific targeting and a shorter testing cycle. Another aspect of PPC that expects a pickup in 2014 is utilizing the Google Display Network. This past year, there were a few major complaints from advertisers as far as display testing. Display networks historically have not been as successful with direct response as search has. Some Google display sites are poor in quality, and targeting options are somewhat limited. These complaints made the adoption of display networks slow this past year. The big change for next year is Google's response to these complaints, mainly display select options. The Google Display Network currently reaches 90% of the global online audience and includes 2 million publisher sites, including many large branded sites with high traffic. Initially and largely in 2013, the Display Network was used for branding and a little bit direct response. But a combination of all three shortcomings mentioned contributed to some poor performance in terms of conversions and ROI. So the 2 million publisher sites that Google was using for their display network was getting the advertisers' impressions, but it wasn't converting because of their lack of targeting towards the advertiser's audience. The search network with display select option uses improved signals to determine which display network sites the advertiser's ads are likely to perform the best. So instead of simply showing up on display network sites based on things like keywords alone, Google's looking at quality and performance for display select. There are magic words to advertisers. If the improvement of the display network increases ROI, we'll most likely see people start to opt back into the display network. Improving the quality of users seeing your ads is the first step in revitalizing display in 2014. PPC reaching a higher number of impressions doesn't mean much if these people aren't clicking through and converting. So Google's narrowing of the display reach means more qualified impressions overall. Unfortunately, with Google Display Select, as Google claims, they use improved signals and methods of predicting where and when your ads will likely to be performed best and sets a higher bar for where to show them, but we don't know exactly what those improved signals and methods are. This is a question we most likely won't get an answer to right away, but it's also likely that the improvement of these methods over the course of 2014 will convince people to join back into the Display Select network anyway. With Display Select, Google is essentially doing your testing for you, and the initial results are any indication the Display Network will see an influx of advertisers over the next year. In addition to Display Select, Google's working on improving their display network through other mediums. The growing importance of video will not be left out in this sector in 2014 as well. Video display options have already begun expanding. You can choose between click to play or in-stream videos within YouTube content. For in-stream videos, when an online video is served to a website in the Google Display Network, customers see an in-stream video play automatically before, during, or after the video content that they've selected, depending on where the content publisher chooses to show the ads. So how is this going to change in 2014? Because I know it's been very relevant this past year and also probably a source of annoyance for people that are constantly on YouTube. But where Display Select is focused on refining click-through rate and ROI, video display attempts to expand brand recognition will be to qualified audiences. So they won't be placing ads on irrelevant videos. It will be tied to the audience that's watching these videos, that's searching these terms, and that is going to YouTube for a specific purpose. A final push for Google's Display Network in 2014 is the option of remarketing. This allows you to reach people who have already been to your site and show them relevant ads on the web or throughout search. This is achieved by adding a piece of code to the pages of your site that's triggered when the visitors arrive. This is a tool growing in importance for e-commerce sites or sites with a longer conversion funnel. So if you have a checkout process that people abandon midway through, you'd be able to target those people to come back where they left off, entice them with a coupon, whatever it takes to get them back on that site from other sites that they're also visiting. Retargeting within the display network allows for a larger reach when visitors to your site browse the web. So in 2014, remarketing is expected to increase in use by advertisers because of the ability to just utilize the display network. Remarketing already has a built-in bonus of targeting quality visitors. You know these people have been to your site before. You know that they have, if they've been through the conversion funnel, you know that they have found something they were looking for, or they're interested in your content. So you're not reaching people across millions of websites that aren't familiar with your brand or your product. You're reaching people that have dropped off of the conversion funnel for whatever reason and enticing them to come back through repetition. The improvements to the display network finally have extended to other mediums, namely the growing social advertising platforms. So Google recently announced their integration into the display network of Facebook Exchange. The ability to target on such a refined level, to remarket to people on a social level that have been to your website, can really integrate and introduce that relationship between paid search and social that we've all been trying to see as far as 2013. But seeing it in 2014 will probably start the trend for Google to integrate into other social platforms instead of just Facebook. So tying into that, we'll move on to the social portion. Each year brings bigger and bigger things for social media. In 2013, this area of digital marketing was impacted by the influx of image and video, but even more so because it controlled these platforms. Social advertising saw shaky beginnings, but strong follow-through as platforms like Facebook allowed for niche targeting and quality engagement. And finally, the mobile trend extended to social media as well, with quality app-based platforms that began to succeed over browser-based platforms. In 2014, the beginnings of this year's trends will probably arrive full force. Social media marketing can expect a shift in strategy, but it can also welcome its foothold in the digital marketing world. Because next year, social media is set to be a necessity and not a luxury. I think that most businesses and brands expect to have at least one social media profile, if not many. A better understanding of how to engage customers on that as well. Since its introduction, we've been able to measure the impact of social involvement for brand awareness, audience engagement, and slowly but surely now getting introduced into ROI. The benefits include, but aren't limited to, improved social signals, which we discussed as a factor in the search ranking algorithm, company branding, improved brand awareness, word-of-mouth advertising, increased customer loyalty and trust, and improved audience reach and influence. So being able to reap the benefits of social media requires understanding of human nature and the nature of business simultaneously. Like SEO, content marketing has a huge impact on social media in the next year. With so many available platforms, you have to know what to say, where to say it, and who you're saying it to. And in doing so, you have to avoid the promotional spam and reach your customers at a social level instead of a branded one. In 2013, we saw a couple of larger brands and a couple of smaller brands make that mistake, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Facebook. You have to know that there is a level between too much promotion and not enough audience engagement. Your followers don't go on Twitter or LinkedIn to shop, so that has to be a secondary purpose driven by an attraction or need for useful information. Your aim in 2014 for social should be engagement instead of impressions. Having a content strategy in place for social is equally as important as SEO. Research shows that businesses that have blogs generate 67% more leads each month than companies that don't. Furthermore, studies also indicate that educational content proves very effective for building an audience. Make sure to revamp your social content strategy in 2014 by blogging regularly and providing your audience with useful, engaging information. As to where you should distribute your content amongst your most interested audiences, 2014 social media strategies will continue to advocate strong social media presence on the major sites, so Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, if they make sense for your business. But we'll also see a rise in participation of the smaller networks and niche sites to reach the target audiences within them, again, if it makes sense for your business. 2014 will continue this social trend of recognizing humans versus consumers. Whereas paid search focuses on the conversion and the consumer, social focuses on the community as opposed to a direct sale. Until now, we haven't seen quite enough integration going on between the brand's various marketing channels, whether digital or offline. So with social, we'll see a rise in real-time social engagement. We've already begun to see it in 2013, but it will be incorporated into almost any brand that you see over any medium. Reality TV in particular has been using its audience to influence not only how a show runs, but how the results actually turn out. For example, NBC's The Voice allows Twitter users to vote on who should be saved out of the bottom 3 in the competition. In 2014, we're going to see a lot of that occurring, not just on reality sites, but on other TV shows, news shows, just to get people, if not directly involved with the show, involved with starting a conversation among fans. Like the clip that you see from the news, other shows will include targeted hashtags to start a conversation on Twitter when a show is airing during the week, and then building a community out of people on these social platforms who like to talk about the shows. Brands are also continue to follow the lead of Foursquare when it comes to check-in rewards on different platforms. An example shown here is Whole Foods, who rewarded followers with $20 off their next shopping trip for tweeting the hashtag #MXWholeFoods. This was a partnership with American Express, but we're seeing it a lot as it goes on, getting people to engage by giving them a reward. And social media is a perfect platform to do this because people want to engage with brands. They want to feel like their voice is heard, and they want to be able to get a reward just for hashtagging #MXWholeFoods. So this method not only drives engagement, but ensures conversions for product-based businesses as well. Even if Whole Foods isn't your regular grocery store, you would shop there after receiving an offer just by posting a simple tweet. The image-based platforms will be taking the lead in this approach as well. Brands can ask followers for a picture of their new car, shoes, or any product to provide a reward or a featured spot on their channel. Something we've seen with shoe companies like Nike or car companies will ask their users and their followers to post a picture of their Nikes, whether it be in the snow, on the beach, or their new car, whether they bought it this week, last week. And once they get that engagement from their users, once they have people sending these new photos on Instagram, on Twitter, you become a part of that brand because you're contributing to their social media success. Brands like American Express will post offers or specials that are exclusive only to their Instagram followers. So this not only builds your audience, it gives them the sense that they are involved in something that's a little more exclusive, that they're connecting with the brand on a very social level. And the ability to convert them into customers once they're there is a lot easier than just having someone show up on your site and getting them to convert without engaging on them on that level. The problem is not every channel is right for every message, and not every message is right for every channel. In addition, demographic data proves that not everyone is everywhere. So understanding how each channel is used is extremely important and will continue to be in 2014, and as is understanding who's using that. For example, LinkedIn is a good place for sharing slideshows and articles, while Facebook is better for sharing anecdotal stories and pictures. And then Google Plus and Twitter have a wide range of topic-based enthusiasts, with users exchanging ideas and content in the format specific to each of those. This applies to social advertising. With the amount of personal information shared on social networks, it's so much easier to refine ad targeting than it is for PPC or SEO. We've been subjected mainly to Facebook ads over the last year, but 2014 will see the rise of Twitter advertising and promotional tweets, and Pinterest and Google following close behind. Online banner ads are now being ignored, whereas they were the norm for users who are engaging with ads in their news feed and their promoted post ads. Promoted tweets themselves show 15 times more than banner ads. The increase in social ad engagement in 2013 means that in 2014, the amount of data that we've amassed from these social advertising studies will help close the sales funnel between conversation and conversion, typically a longer one than most of the other marketing channels like PPC or SEO. because you have to build a relationship before convincing someone to convert, whether it be to buy a product, to visit a site, to post content, to share content, whatever it is, the social sales funnel seems to be longer. As far as social users are concerned, the demographic drop within popular platforms will probably see a drastic dip in 2014. Facebook itself has been decreasing in popularity over the past 2 quarters and is on its way to lose its first place among teens in particular. So where are these teens going? They're leaving Facebook for more image-based platforms, Instagram, Snapchat, as well as the video-based platforms. There are many factors and ideas attributed to this departure. The rise in parental involvement on Facebook, ever-changing privacy settings that no one really understands, and the increased ad exposure have all been cited for reasons that teens are leaving Facebook and moving to different platforms. But this is another area where mobile plays a role. In the changing landscape of digital for 2014, mobile is going to be a big reason why people are leaving the text-heavy mobile apps like Facebook for quick, fast apps like Instagram and Snapchat. Using the Facebook app, or even worse, the mobile site, can be time-consuming. And while teens might be spending more time on their phones, they don't want to spend extra time navigating through the apps to do what they want. So what does this mean for marketing and social media next year? Compared to Facebook, advertising is basically non-existent on Snapchat and Instagram at the moment, but that's slowly changing. It's most unfortunate that the platform is losing a demographic as their advertising targeting gets more and more advanced. But with the decline in teens, many brands will lose the extent of their reach. So looking forward, we'll probably see Facebook trying to reclaim some of that advertising potential through Instagram, which they own, where they introduced in-feed ad formats in October. So seeing more of the in-feed ad formats is probably something we'll be seeing next year, as well as other mobile image platforms. The concern with this integration, and what we've seen so far, is that it disrupts the user experience, which is partly the reason why teens left Facebook in the first place, partly the reason why people avoid online advertising, at least on a mobile platform. It plays a majority part in social media marketing, as well as the inability of brands to blend in with the Instagram model. So as you can see from this picture here, any promoted or advertised photo on Instagram is going to be immediately obvious to the user who doesn't want that clogging up their feed. They want to quickly look at pictures without being interrupted. The rise in images in social sharing also lends way to another trend that made its mark in 2013, which is videos. So in 2014, expect to see more dominance of the social video platforms like Vine, Instagram, and Snapchat video, and YouTube, all making a play for social real estate. With ads already being incorporated into YouTube, Google has a corner on that area of video ROI, but the other platforms will try to emerge with their own branded social video among larger brands, as we've seen with the earlier incorporations of Instagram images. Also, with the shift towards visual in 2014, telling the story of a business through social media will become a standard that brands have to adopt. It started toward the end of this year, but with a shift towards short, concise videos that tell a deeper story than pictures can, will only become more important in 2014. So platforms like Twitter's Vine app and Instagram's 15-second video make it really easy to create and share this short-form content. So it's worth it for marketers to take the time not only to understand how to use these platforms, but to understand how users consume content on them. The success of video can also be attributed to the rise in mobile across all segments of digital marketing. Mobile users are frequently accessing social channels to watch and share videos, so expect to see a surge in mobile video content for the next year. In 2014, the best way to improve your social media marketing strategy is to both increase the amount of interactive content you're sharing and build your presence on the photo and video-specific platforms. So I'm going to go through mobile really quickly since we only have 10 minutes left. But in 2013, In 2014, we don't expect to see anything but a surge in mobile traffic and mobile focus. Having a mobile strategy is important for every part of the digital pie, SEO, SEM, and social. So the 2013 changes to the mobile algorithm will bring big changes in 2014. Google has been warning webmasters that sites that offer poor mobile experiences will be seeing ranking penalties, and they've given us a bit more insight into what else will affect your ranking factors for mobile sites, which includes if your phone doesn't display Flash, Google will not show Flash sites in your results. Similarly, if your website is Flash heavy, you will need to consider it or ensure that the mobile version of your site does not use it. If your website routes all of its mobile traffic, no matter what search query is put in, to the home page, it will be ranked lower. And then if your site is slow on mobile phones, Google is less likely to rank it. Recently, they came out with a more specific metric, which means that they want the above-the-fold content, no matter what phone you're using, what mobile device you're using, to load under 1 second. For the ideal. Anything drastically more than that will start to be penalized in 2014. And in addition to refining the mobile search algorithm, mobile tracking for advertisers will see a shift in the coming year with the improvement upon mobile remarketing. So similarly to how we're going to see a surge in retargeting for PPC, we're going to see the same thing with mobile. Given the mobile retargeting gets a little more refined in its structure. The common misconception is that third-party cookies on mobile don't work, but the only real issue is that device settings on separate apps, separate browsers, and separate devices are all different, and it's hard to scale those issues to each and every mobile ad that you're targeting. So setting compatible devices represent less than 20% of devices in the market. So you'll have a difference between a mobile Safari site and an Apple site and an Android site because they are not able to scale these cookies at this time. But while they're a viable solution for the future, it's important to note that it's difficult to scale this solution, and we expect to see this refined at the beginning of this coming year because tracking retargeting on mobile, as we said before with cross-device conversions, is becoming more and more important for ROI and for getting that deeper and deeper data. So now if I've done my job, you can see the correlation between each facet of digital marketing and what they expect to see in the new year. We're seeing a lot of similar trends, just executed differently across each facet. So in summary, focus on content, including images and video, across all of your marketing efforts. Make your mobile site Google-friendly and pay attention to the audience that's accessing it. And finally, listen to your audience. Find out what they're asking, what they want, and where they're looking for it. They could probably tell you more than I ever could. So thanks again to everyone that joined. If you missed any part of this webinar, if you came in late for any reason, the recording will be sent to every registered guest and will also be up on the web. So if you have any questions for me, again, feel free, email, Twitter. You can contact the Stream Company's Twitter or right on our Facebook. And if you have any questions for me or the SEO team or Stream in general, please reach out, and thank you very much for participating in our very last webinar of 2013.